All right, everybody, welcome to the 13th annual Guardian debates. I'm gonna start with Rose and then work clockwise. So, what are your views on Uldarash war with Illustra? Illustria.
With Illustria?
Yeah.
Should we introduce ourselves first, maybe?
Everybody knows who you are.
don't
You know what? Introduce yourself. Rose, Vandero, qwaser.
Okay, I'm a Barbed Rose, in-game name Cynthia Gooblegans, and I'm gonna win, so.
Excellent.
My name is no longer Vandero. The Vandero that was before failed to kill the Empress. I am Emperor. Now I am El Vandero, and I am here in his stead to represent his passion, his wrath, the red sheep, the sheep that is to conquer the world of Ravnir one day.
God
Yes.
That's cool. Hey, I'm qwaser. I'm Katarina in game. Everyone's favorite former Guardian, Empress, President Marshal. I've done it all, and I'm here to do it again.
Lovely. All right, this is Cynthia Rose. That was kind of a shitty question to start off with. What is your plan for inactive towns in the nation?
Inactive towns, you say?
Inactive towns.
Well, I kind of take it personally because Tia 2 has one such town, and I'm like a citizen of Tia 2. I'm like one of the only citizens left. I'd say the best thing we can do is back a while ago, we tried to funnel people out of Terroja and to other cities, and I don't see why it'd be difficult to require people to stay in other towns for a time or to just offer them better stuff there. We have federal funds. I mean, Underscore used to offer just like 5,000 or whatever to move to Tiatua. I don't see why we can't start that program again. I don't think most people actually have a preference where they live. They just like to live near stuff. So,
in your opinion, do you think that it is important for Terroja to be the most active city in Montroig?
I think as the capital, it should be the most active, yes. But I don't think that it should be hogging up all the attention. Montroig has always been a collection of towns. It's a nation after all, not a city-state. So Terroja is important, and I've been investing a lot of effort there recently with like the renovation and stuff. I don't think it should be the nation's sole focus.
All right, Vandoro.
Cities, there are places that just feel stinky, disgusting, gross. I know that many of us love the metropolis of Montroig, but honestly, the countryside is where it's at. Big manors, mansions, housing that isn't cluttered, that has ample space for everyone. There is a land outside of Montroig that we can settle new citizens in, and that is my own province of Umbria. Thousands of blocks of land for Montroig, rich, poor, middle-class citizens, all of them can have tracts of land if I am voted in, because that I am just.
How are you
that
gonna get that
generous.
land?
What?
Umbria belongs to Chevcree.
Don't
To
interrupt him.
Chefcree. Well, first of all, I know Chefcree politics, and to be honest, they don't really check that much. I can do whatever I want in Umbria, and Chefcree cannot care. They couldn't care less because I am just that big of a figure in Chefcree. I can have all of us have the benefits of land in just one single switch of a button. And that is when you press my vote from Vandero. El Vandero. My bad.
The dead candidate. All right, Katarina, do you need me to repeat the question for you?
Yes, please, if you could, just so I can get the wording
Okay.
right.
So, what is your plan for inactive towns in the nation? And then, as a follow up, do you think it's important for Terroja to be the most active, and how will you get it more active?
Yeah, sure. So the issue of inactivity is the central pillar of my campaign, so it's a pretty good question. I think the towns being inactive is maybe for drawing in new players, not necessarily a bad thing. My plan will be to attempt to get both as many new players as possible, but then to also uh, keep up high levels of player retention. So my idea is that players will probably be more likely to stick around if we can say, instead of saying here's this huge city where everyone lives, like everything is basically built up now. You can help with rebuilding stuff, but ultimately most projects are done. Or here's like a half finished town in the desert where you can be in charge of it with some new friends, and you can build it up by yourself. I think we've seen in the past that that can really get a town going for a while. For instance, we saw with Tiatua for that brief period where it nearly surpassed Terroja in player count because they managed to build up their own. They managed to get a group of new players in who were really invested in the town and wanted to build it up. So I think what we should be doing is funneling new players uh, into these towns to try and get them invested in them, and to also help rebuild them as well and get their claims back fully in that. Um, in terms of Terraria, I think it probably should be the biggest town by player count, just by virtue of being the capital. Although I think a lot of players, even if they do live in other towns, will also have a place in Terroja, which I think is probably the best way to do it. I think it should be the sort of place where even if you live primarily in like Tiatua, you should have like an apartment in Terroja as well. I think that should probably be our goal here. Should be to funnel players to mainly pay attention to the other towns, but to also have a place in Terroja. So since we do most of our central activities here, it's useful to have a place to be centralized there.
Wonderful. Oh, the sir, would you like to answer? Are you capable of answering?
Yes, though it might not be a great answer.
It's fine.
Alright, my brilliant idea. I just came up with it now. Force people to move out of Terroja and make them make new places. So they have to be online so they can make their own things. And Terroja dies.
This man's got a great idea.
Wonderful. Wonderful. All right, we're going back to Rose. What is an important quality that you have that other candidates may not have, and how will that help you when or if you're a guardian?
Conviction. More than anything else, my track record speaks to someone who's genuinely convicted in what they do. I've poured everything I have into this nation and turned down plenty of opportunities to just run elsewhere or take it easy and just go the easy route, because I don't want that for Montroig. I think it can do a lot better than that. And I think everyone else here, while having their own virtues, doesn't have the conviction to follow through on a lot of empty words. That's what I keep seeing Guardian election after Guardian election. And it's why I'm much different than the rest of them.
Vandero?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yeah. What is an important quality that you have that other candidates may not have, and how will that help you when or if you become guardian?
I think that my own self-belief in just getting things done is a very great virtue. Because think about it. If you believe in other people are going to let you down. They aren't going to help you. They're not going to do anything for you because they are too selfish in themselves. You alone have the power and the ability to make a nation bend to your will. But that's not what I'm going to do. No. My plan is to have everyone else be their own leaders. Why sit there and just let them do what they wish? Because the people for so long have been at the whims and the slavery of other great people. But those people are corrupt, and they manifest the citizens into little figures, little tin soldiers for themselves and their playthings. I am not gonna let that happen. No longer. Not for this nation. No. I am going to break that cycle. I'm going to liberate the the citizenry from the rich autocratic. The term is bourgeoisie. But yeah. That's what's gonna happen. That's just what's gonna happen. I have a dream that one day every person in this nation control their own destiny. A nation, the truly free. Damn it, a nation. The nation action, not words, ruled by strength, not committee, where the law changes to suit the individual. And
All right.
Yeah, so
the dead
I
man
think
has
my
a dream.
first, I think my first strength is I'm not a libertarian. Um, my second strength is that I have the track record, the honorable track record, of being literally the only guardian in our nation's entire history that stayed active the entire term I was elected for and fulfilled my campaign promises. I stayed active the entire month. I was re-elected. I stayed active the next 2 weeks until I became Empress. I then stayed active for the next year. I have stayed active this entire time. I actually fulfilled my campaign promises last time I was elected, and I noticed a certain opponent suggested she was the only one who would ever do this. Might I remind my opponent that of the two of us, I'm the only one who actually stayed active their entire term as Guardian. Mm.
I haven't been Guardian before.
Your words speak of old.
And also, I'm
Hush,
sorry, it's
hush.
my term, El Vandero.
Really?
Yes.
Because what it sounds like is that you are just trying to use.
Can you mute him, speaker?
already
Can you
did.
mute? Thank you. But yeah, I mean, I think my track record speaks for itself. My qualities are that when I say I'm going to do something, I do my best to do it. I think that look back at like basically anything I've done over the past year. I mean, when I ran for Guardian the first time, almost exactly a year ago now, my goals were to build up the upper city walls, create the fort, create the beginnings of a public transportation system, get the player count up. I single-handedly built the fort. I single-handedly built the upper city walls. I single-handedly started the transportation system. I got our player count up from averaging about 15 to 30 in the course of the first month. And then the next month, I got it so that we were averaging about 45 players. I'm telling you right now, my goal is to get the player count of the nation up, and my track record proves that I will do my best, and I will stay active the entire month trying my best, which is probably my greatest quality as a potential guardian.
Wonderful.
Sounds to
Back
me
to
like you're
Rose.
waxing poetic about the past. But what about the here and now?
Sounds to me like
mean,
I
I've not
actually have
seen you do
evidence to
much
back
of
up my
anything.
statements.
Sounds to me like you haven't done much of anything as of recent, to be honest with you. I mean, ever since the war, you pretty much vanished and left Montroig to fend for itself, which it did.
Interesting that we're talking about people vanishing ever since the war happened. I wonder who else that could be thrown in the face of. Interesting.
Who?
Me.
All right.
Who's
So,
saying that?
going back to Rose, how do you think that you'll be able to manage the Uldarash High Council, and what are your plans for that?
Well, I have experience with a number of the people on the council, actually. Buck has told me a lot of what goes on there, so I'm actually pretty well prepared for it. But to be honest with you, as mentioned in my campaign discussion, I would rather just split the role into two different roles, because I think that the responsibility of domestic affairs and administration is different from that of diplomacy on the High Council, and that often we get ourselves strung over about who's best for one or the other, when I really think that they should be two separate responsibilities.
Awesome. Vandero, back to you.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, sure. What are your plans for the High Council, and how well are you prepared for being on the High Council?
I don't think that I'm really gonna pay too much attention to the High Council because the High Council is Uldarash business, and I want to focus solely on Montroig business and getting Montroig on beat and just back in function. Um, if I were to be on the High Council, I would pretty much be at a loss with everything, and would it be really be cool beans because I heard a lot of bad things about it. So I think I'm just gonna I'm just I'm just gonna stay away from that type of stuff.
All right, the corpse is not going to do anything on the High Council. Quasar.
As gamer blocks can tell you, they'll love me on the High Council. Um,
Oh,
but,
totally.
but seriously though, I have out of all of Uldarash, I'm probably one of the most experienced players in terms of dealing with the High Council.
So I've been on it
I
for longer than you, or about as long as you. Well,
yeah,
not
no,
longer
but that's why
actually.
I said one of and not the gamer. But yeah, no, I mean, to be serious though, I think I generally did a good job of getting on with the rest of the High Council members up until the little incident. But like generally speaking, I think I'm pretty prepared to deal with the High Council members. I like most of them on a personal level. They're pretty nice people. They're generally fairly reasonable if you just speak to them like upfront and honestly about it. Yeah, I mean, I've represented Montroig to the High Council before, and I think I did a pretty good job when I was Guardian, and then as Empress for like multiple months. I think I did a fairly decent job of representing our interests. So yeah, I mean, I think I've shown I've done a good job in the past, and I continue to do a good job in the future. I'm probably one of the more experienced foreign diplomacy people in Uldarash and generally on Stoneworks, I'd guess.
To expand on that, do you believe that the Uldarash High Council will allow you to be on the High Council, and what are your plans if they do not allow you to be on the High Council?
Well, legally, they do have to let me be on the High Council. The only position I'm barred from holding is the Emperorship. And besides, they let Buck on the High Council, so there's no actual reason why they wouldn't let me on. Like realistically speaking, there's no like secure. It's not a security threat, as I said. They already let Buck on, so like I think in terms of security threats, we're fairly equal in that regard. I wouldn't leak anything anyway. Yeah, I mean, as I said, they could be petty about it and try and stop Montroig's democratically elected leader getting their seat they're legally required to receive if they want to try and be petty about it. But I think generally speaking, everyone on it's feeling a lot more reasonable and lawful recently. So I don't know. It shouldn't be an issue, but I mean, even if it was, it wouldn't be Montroig's fault anyway.
Wouldn't the
I mean,
opposition like they would know how to deal with you because you've been on the High Council for like let's say 50 years of your reign?
Well, the only way they ever managed to politically outmaneuver me was by cooing me. So you know.
Yeah,
Sure,
but
I mean
like
that is a way to deal with me. To be fair, you're
yeah,
right there.
okay,
but the
let's
thing
move
is
on.
just
Rose, how many hours a week do you play on Stoneworks?
Well, since I've gotten back, I've been playing pretty consistently. I've been on the server like probably 4 hours a day for the past few days. And I've been on my own world building stuff for this server for another few hours on top of that. So, and then I'm on the Discord like all the time, anyways.
Okay, Vandoro, the corpse who just quit Stoneworks. No comment. All right, to Quasar.
Sorry, I do believe you meant El Vandoro. Just to be
Sure.
clear, Vandoro's dead.
Yep.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I generally play about an hour or two a day in terms of being actually in game. Then I also spend maybe another hour doing, as Rose said, out of game like RP planning, produce like plans for building projects and the like, and then I spend basically all day in the Discord. Like if someone mentions my name, I will 9 times out of 10 see it pop up as a notification and respond within like 3 seconds. So I don't know if you can hear my Discord notifications going off in the background, but I have them enabled for effectively every channel in the Montroig Discord. So yeah, I'm pretty active. I don't play all day every day, but I think that's probably how I've managed to maintain a pretty consistent level of activity. So yeah.
All right, back to Rose. Do you plan on fixing the weird bend in the ice highway between Montroig and Alfheim?
Absolutely. I just went on there yesterday and it was awful. And I talked about this yesterday, I think, to Ren. Like, I'm going to make sure that the Ministry of Infrastructure does their job, and gets down there and just starts fixing that ice highway because that's ridiculous. It should just be like 2 straight lines.
Wonderful. Vandero.
I never took a look at the roads because I use the roads between Umbria and Montroig to get around. It's just like in Chef Cree, their roads are pretty bad and they're very hard to navigate. And I believe if I were in charge of the roads, I feel like my Umbrian genes would not roll over well with having an excellent road between Montroig and Alfheim. However, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to pay attention to it. I will employ very good infrastructure people to be on top of that with my enormous amount of funds that I have been banking up from commissions. So I do have a plan to assess those roads, but only if the people ask for it to be built. And I'll just have Alfheim or Montreux builders construct those roads. So yeah, it's a feasible. You want to say something? Someone?
Katarina, it's your turn.
Yeah, I wish to know who initially built the road, because
Me too.
Terroja is literally a geographically straight line from the Alfheim capital city. There's no reason for a single bend in that entire highway, and yet whoever built it decided to go on a wacky little adventure. Yeah, definitely. I would absolutely get the Ministry of Infrastructure to help make that thing straight and finally get rid of the weird bend that's just there for some reason.
The only feasible explanation I can see for it is that they were trying to bend around claims they didn't have perms in. But other than that,
as far as I'm aware, when that was initially set up, there weren't any claims between here and there, except for Aravind, but I'm fairly certain Aravind was already deserted.
No. I actually know the reason. It's because you can't have something straight in Montroig.
Good point, Toto, to be fair.
No, so true.
That is a good point. But yeah, no, I would definitely try and get the Ministry of Infrastructure to fix that, or coordinate with Alfheim as well to try and get that rebuilt.
Legal. Was this a question about the speed roads and not the actual roads?
Yes, it was.
Oh.
Back to Rose.
I would like to.
Nope, you missed your chance. Rose, assuming you're able to get activity in Montroig back up to par, what are your plans for getting the Republican Army back in business?
Well, I think if we're going to go talk about the army, the obvious model to follow is Alfheim, given that they clearly know what they're doing when it comes to logistics. So Ren tells me quite a bit about how their army works and just how they get stuff done. So, yeah, I mean, if you want a good example, then Alfheim is right there. But generally speaking, I don't think the army is like that big of a priority for me personally. But of course, if there is a situation where we do need a larger army, then it'd be best to follow in Alfheim's example, just given how good their army is, just in terms of logistics and in terms of training.
All right. Well, Vandero.
Of course, with the system that I do plan to implement, There are going to be enemies everywhere, glaring envious eyes on how free our society is. You saw the histories of how people who just wanted to live on the land and not be governed by corrupt politicians, how they were squashed viciously and ineffectually by malicious powers. We will not stand for that. We will not fall in the same trap as those people. We are a different kind of breed. We will have a Spartanist, anarchist, militaristic, martial unstate, because anarchism is against statism. We are going to have soldiers, actual armed soldiers. We are going to have a bulwark against the flood of the knightist, worst, monarchist powers, and defend Terroja to the bitter, dying end with vigor. Yes.
All right. The corpse has a lot of words, but no real plan. Katerina?
Yes, sorry, could you repeat the question? That I was fixated on that incredible fantasy story I was just told.
Yes.
Yeah, anytime
Assuming
you
you're
I forget.
assuming you're able to get activity back on par in Montroig, how are you going to revitalize the Montroid's army?
Great question, Legal. What an intelligent person that asked that. So me and Fabrak have a plan. Of course, this is assuming we can manage to get the player count up. Where one of the new activities we'll try and direct new players to is producing weapons, armor, and potions for the army. In exchange for rewards. For instance, we are going to offer if you have a gold rank on the server, you can create lord items. Not like lore. It's not lord. Offer special items in exchange, potential monetary rewards to attempt to get our gear stockpiles back up. Although we do still have some gear stockpiled, we do need more. We would reinstitute the multiple trainings a week's schedule that we used to do quite successfully in the style of Alfheim. And I would use my good relationship with Alfheim to help coordinate trainings. They do large-scale actual battle trainings. They have the actual war plugin on their private training server that Stoneworks uses. I've taken part in a few of them. They're actually incredibly useful for learning how war works on the server. So I would definitely try and coordinate that with them rather than just focusing completely on ourselves, because that's 1v1s are useful to a certain point, but when you have that sort of a resource available, it's kind of silly not to take advantage of it. So yeah, basically try and incentivize new players into either producing gear, potentially joining the army, since it gives them something frequent to do that would get them online in Discord, talking to us, which would help get them invested in the nation even further.
Wonderful. All right, going back to Rose, what are your current opinions on independence from Uldarash?
So I've gone back and forth on independence a number of times over the past couple of months. When I first joined the server, the first person I talked to independence about was Underscore, and he kind of explained the reasons behind it. And I thought it was kind of dumb, but also he was anti-independent, so he kind of had a biased perspective. But over time, I saw the Empire show its hand, and I became very pro-independent because, well, at the end of the day, I just want what's best for the nation, and being within the Empire was not the best route for the nation. But I always kind of hoped that it would be one day, because I think both in terms of practicality and RP, being in an Empire sounds really cool and really fun. The context behind our situation in the Empire did not make it that way. I think we're on a better track than we were like pre-Civil War, obviously. But as it stands, I'd say I am still hesitantly pro-independence, but optimistic that we won't need to go independent anytime soon. Of course, I don't intend to act on it directly, since I know what happens if we do, but in terms of my best wishes and hopes, that's kind of where I stand.
All right, Vandero.
Like many others in the past, who have said, unlike many others in the past, who have claimed that they would fight for independence with such fancy words and an ideal, but not actually show face for it. No. I will actually act on these words and fulfill the wishes of our ancestors long ago. Not only, well, wait, who's in the audience? Not only will I declare independence from Uldarash, but this world of Ravnir, it's not worth it. It's not. We don't deserve to live underground. No. The dreams are in the stars. Look up. Look up. What do you see? You see space. A moon made out of cheese. So much food to farm. All we have to do is build a spaceship. A big, large shuttle that will lead us to the moon. And once there, we will create a paradise full of so much land to own and make things on. And then we're just gonna live on space air, and that is just perfect. It's perfect. It is the dream, and if we don't let dreams be memes, no, if we let our dreams be memes, and we're not actually fulfilling the will of the cosmos. I am a firm believer in cosmonism. And cosmonism says that if you don't do anything, if you don't let yourself be stopped by such impervious things, such as players trying to convince you not to do things, then you are not being based enough. You have to be bigger. Bigger. That's it.
All right. The corpse has opinions on independence, when in reality, he is independent from living. Katarina.
I was going to fully need you to repeat the question until I remembered, oh my god, this was about independence. Yeah, so I wish no harm to the people of Uldarash, nor the governing entities that rule over it. I love the Empire. To be serious though, currently in our as we are right now, we shouldn't declare independence. Like fully, seriously, we're still not that small compared to a lot of the minor Rathnir nations, but we've certainly lost the mid-power status we once had. I mean, at one point, I think we were the sixth biggest nation on the entire server by active player count. Now, if we could get that back, then my opinion would probably change, because at that point, you're actually got a decent amount of security. But to do that, there's no way to do that legally until we can attempt to regain our founder status, which we lost at the conclusion of the Civil War, but was, I was told at the time, potentially up for discussion once several months had passed if we, displayed good behavior, as it were. So that's definitely something that, as Guardian, I would be pushing to attempt to regain. Since the only states in the Empire, for those who didn't know, that can leave are founder states. We were a founder state, but after the Civil War, we got our status taken away from us as punishment. But I would hope to get that back. As I said, that's the only way you could even legally declare independence anyway. And I personally am not interested in another civil war anytime soon. So, that's the only way that it would happen regardless. So yeah. Currently, I'm
Wonderful.
somewhat ambivalent on it, although I do agree with the idea that Montroig should be independent in its ability to function. It shouldn't need to rely on Uldarash, for instance.
Amazing. Buck, how are the wedding plans going?
I assume badly.
All right, I want to wrap this up. So, Rose, what is your favorite flavor of ice cream?
This again. Well, this is how Crazy loses the election because he has.
Hey, hold on. What about my question about the wall?
The Illustrious
What's
War?
this? Is this? Are you not listening to this man's freedom of speech legal?
No.
Is this
Rose, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
good question, actually.
I'm a big fan of chocolate chip cookie.
Ooh, fun. Vandero, can you still taste? You're a corpse. Anyways, qwaser, what is your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Good vanilla, like vanilla bean
Vanilla.
ice cream.
Hold on. I do have a favorite flavor.
Oh,
Okay.
Is
My
it
favorite
murder?
flavor is cherry pop ice
Murder?
cream.
Murder?
Cherry what?
Cherry pop ice cream. It's an ice cream and friendlies that they used to have, where they put like, you know, the candy rocks. They just
No.
sprinkle it onto on cotton candy ice cream, and it's really delicious. And like while I can't I can't flush things down my throat since Ren plunged the dagger through it, I can taste it,
yeah.
and it still pops. I can still feel it in my mouth. No,
Average Saturday night.
How does it feel having Ren's dagger in your throat?
no. There's the dagger's no
Oh.
longer there. It's he took it out.
You'd hope so.
Okay. Well, I'm going to call it there. Thank you, everybody, for attending the 13th Guardian debates.